Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am your host today, Japheth, with
Jackie.
and
Snow White.
a princess.
Princess is here.
Yes, I just had to come and visit.
What brings you here, Snow White?
I heard you're going to be talking about me.
Typically. Heard there's a will out back.
I'm wishing for more attention now. I'm forgotten today.
So, what brings us here today is to shed the light some of the earliest Disney full-length animation films. And for some of us, we learned that some of these movies or short clips were part of a collective. They're part of a animation feature. So we're going to discuss some of these, the pre-World War II and the World War II era.
Yeah,
we're going to rank them.
Yeah.
Yes, so like they have them labeled in like their eras.
Eras, yes.
Yes, so like we're combining two of them because the first one only has like 5 movies, so we're combining the first two, which is the Golden Age, Disney's Golden Age, with I believe it's the Disney's wartime era. So that spans everything from 38 to 49.
And if you go to Disney Plus, there's a section with all of these movies except for one.
Except for one, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And my goal forward is to break up these eras because it's really hard to take the wartime and compare it
to the golden,
because
they're two different styles.
Yeah, they are. The golden era is what we're used to, and then there's like
I would guarantee most people probably haven't even watched most of the wartime movies or even knew that these were considered movies.
Which is interesting because there's a lot of references in the parks to these shorts.
Absolutely.
Blue Bayou, Pecos Bill.
We got
Casey's.
Casey at the bat.
Yep.
So, even Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So,
and you see those characters like pop up in like small little clips or small little like cartoons, especially with like the new ones. They'll just throw this character and you're like, where's that character from? And then like, oh, there it is. And so it's really cool how Disney Animation pulls from those.
Right.
You know, the new movies are still pulling out stuff from like, or shows or clips are pulling out from shows from 60, 70, 80 years ago. So it's kind of cool how it's not dead. Like, they're part of the Toontown from Roger Rabbit.
Right.
They didn't get what was the goo or what was the
dip?
Yeah, they didn't get dipped. Those poor.
It's dip.
All right, so we're gonna start off with the Golden Age, and so we're just gonna do like our top 5 right there.
Yes.
Let's start with our. Let's just go and say the movie and what we think it's ranked.
Okay.
With us.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
Wait, are we... So, clarification. Are ranking both centuries?
We're going to do them separate because they are...
They're two... There's totally different... Unless you think one deserves to be in there.
Because honestly, if I'm picking it, I'm picking all of the Golden Age before the wartime.
I actually have one different. But...
And
we'll discuss that.
And we can talk about that.
So we'll go over the Golden Age and where you think it is ranked and the 11... features we're talking about this podcast. All right, I'm going to start off with Bambi. Where's Bambi to you guys?
Bottom.
I have it at 4.
Yeah.
Number 4? I have it 5.
6.
6.
Wait, there's 6?
No. I have one.
She has something
That's right.
ahead of it.
I have something ahead of it.
Gotcha.
So what is it about Bambi that puts it at the bottom for all of us?
I don't know. It's the storyline itself is just kind of bland.
It's missing
boring.
something. It's missing a little something to it. It's one of those things going back to our Disney sequels things. I think if you combine Bambi with Bambi 2, like you've got a really good story going
I think so.
on there. But I feel like Bambi by itself you're missing a big chunk of who Bambi is. Like, you got Bambi as a little kid, and then all of a sudden Bambi's an adult.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Do you think if Man actually was in there? Like, they always talk about Man.
Man's the villain, right?
And he's the villain. He's the one we said, like, who's most likely to show up at IHOP? And I'm like, Man. Man is the other. We don't even know what he looks like, but he shows up. And we're like, so who's that guy? That's Man. That's
Man.
I've always wanted to know what he looked like. So do you think if we actually had Man show up, like, actually visualize an enemy, or do you
Or
think it was
just
too
like
much
a
like...
different villain.
I would say no. I learned a lot. There's a really good bonus feature with Bambi where it's basically they have the they wrote down the discussion of Disney and his top animators doing the like storyboards for it, and so they literally they have voice actors portraying each of the animators as well as Walt Disney, like talking about each scene, storyboard by storyboard, like, oh, we want to do this, and it's like I grew to really appreciate it, and like they made a really good point about not including people in the movie. I don't quite remember what it was, but they just felt like it was going to distract too much from the story of Bambi and Bambi's mom.
And nobody wants to see a movie where where you're the villain. Like,
yeah, right.
Man, that's fake. Man, it's just like hunting and dogs and guns. I mean, I can see that's where the dilemma of like, let's alienate half our population here, or our audience.
But,
it's a tough one.
Yeah. So, a part of me that didn't put it at 5 was just because because I know more of the history behind the making of it and things like that. I've really grown attached to this movie a little bit more than the one I put at 5.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Anything else, Jackie?
No.
Okay, so let's move on to Dumbo. What do we have that at?
3.
5. That's my 5.
That's your 5?
That's my
I'm at
5.
3.
I'm at 3 on
Okay,
Dumbo.
so Peter, why is it below Bambi?
I don't know. It's just one of those movies I never have a desire to watch. Like, I never want to watch it. I like the musical numbers. The musical numbers are great. I really like that, but like I don't care
About
for the
Elephants on
story.
Parade, you like that song?
Yeah, I still sing and
It's a
dance to
fun
that one.
line.
It's a great one. I love, obviously Baby Mine. I Super.
You Wanna Cry, that's a good
like,
line.
It's a
Yeah.
great one. Like music's spot on, all of it. But like I just feel like the story's just super meh. Like I don't enjoy watching the storyline of Dumbo at all. Like you feel horrible about circus animals and things
Yeah,
like
they're putting
that.
up the whole thing like the hey ho,
Right, like
hey Bambi, or no, hey Dumbo. I know you were just born. Here's a hammer. Get to work.
right. It's just really like a depressing movie to me, and I just don't enjoy watching it.
Okay, Jackie, why is it 3?
It's kind of just in the middle for me. Like the music, like you said, it's good. There's definitely some slow parts in the movie.
There's a lot of slow parts in the movie.
But it's still a cute movie. It would be like a movie I would put on like if I'm sick and I just want something light, but I'm not like really focusing on, but just something on the TV and slightly enjoy and just kind of a comfort.
Okay, I'm similar.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as the top 2. I don't think it cracks it.
Yeah.
And so I
Nowhere even close.
Yeah. So all right. Move on to Fantasia. What do you got, Jackie, for Fantasia?
4.
I as well have it as
And
4.
I'm 3.
You're at 3. Okay. So
You two have been on the same page here. We'll see where you
I
guys
cheated.
is.
I saw
you
Jackie's
cheated.
list and was like, that's good.
No,
I ain't working too hard on this podcast.
we'll disagree.
So Fantasia, why? I mean, this is
good. Fantasia's good, but
you gotta be in the right mood for it.
you have to be in a certain mood for it. And I feel like it's a put on while washing dishes almost. Like, I'm not gonna sit down on a couch and watch
That's
it.
fair. That's a fair point.
It's really
Unlike
hard to watch.
Dumbo, I would sit down and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a fluidity. I mean, it is choppy with your compilation of segments of classical pieces. I mean, I love classical music, but somehow it just doesn't pull me in.
I totally get that, and I know I'm coming from a point of like historical value and
Right.
like Walt Disney,
And I get that too. You watch a good documentary or something, and
Right.
it just like it puts the next level up.
right? And like Fantasia, like obviously the music's beautiful. I mean, a lot of the songs are songs that we all know. You know, you hear Sorcerer's Apprentice and you think Mickey Mouse now. Like,
Yep.
doesn't like that solidified what that song now represents. It
Oh, it's a
represents
magical
Mickey Mouse.
scene too.
Yeah.
And
Growing up, apparently this was the movie I was absolutely obsessed with. As to why, I don't know.
I don't agree. I know we've heard this, but I don't
No, I remember always putting on because I loved Mickey Mouse. And so I always
Okay.
wanted to see The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah, we didn't
and
have
I
too
loved
many
the,
like clips with Mickey Mouse.
the mushroom dance, the Russian. Right, like that was so fun. And now looking at it from a historical point of view, it's definitely ahead of its time sort of.
Well, he
piece.
wanted it to be.
Right.
What he wanted to do, he wanted to have an interactive movie
Right.
where like people like
I mean, this is basically
theater-
a music video.
essentially he wanted like an interactive theater, like the Rocky Horror Story.
Right.
But instead of the audience, they would have like the theater would interact with the audience.
The idea behind this movie, and like it's super beautiful. Like you can totally tell it's the animators like flexing on like beautiful
yeah.
different art styles and things like that. Like I think Father Yodeler would talk about how he would watch certain segments in school, because like they were that good.
It was before MTV. And, like,
Right.
They created music videos for these classical pieces.
And it's a great way to get children into enjoying classical music, to visualize a picture with this classical piece. Like I put it on for my kids, and they didn't get into most of it, but there were some segments that really caught their interest. And so like it's one of those things I feel it's necessary and needed more so now than ever. I think this is something we're missing in our modern day media, and we'll probably get more into that when we talk about the wartime, because we get a lot more of that in the wartime era movies. But like I think we're missing that just like relaxing, just musically charged.
We're not slowing down, and we're not. We're getting algorithms driving our interest.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I always have to clear my, I don't even sign into YouTube now, and I clear out my cookies so I can get a fresh start on YouTube, because, man, you click on one thing and you're just down the rabbit hole for, always suggest this, and it's like, we don't have, here, back in my day, our parents,
Right.
our parents had the opportunity to expose their kid going, hey, this is really cool.
Right. Like that's how we got into Star Wars.
Star Wars or the music, we'll talk about it later, but I was like, oh, I remember listening to this in the car
Right.
with Dad. Oh, I've heard this. Oh, I heard this too. Oh, I know this. It's like, I've never. It's like, well, you haven't been in, our Father Yodeler's vehicle with tapes and like the different
mini discs.
the mini disc and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean that's what's getting lost is your this generation of kids. They have access to the media, and
Right.
so parents are just like, good, because I need to take care of what I need to.
Right.
And so they're not sitting down and sharing stuff. And I've asked my father-in-law, I was like, what movies would you want your kids to definitely watch to have an impact? And he was like, oh, I never thought about that. And he did share that he exposed his kids to those type of movies. And so, yeah, I think we do need to slow down and get to share like Fantasia going, hey, this is a beautiful piece that exposes you to a different type of music. because no one's jumping on K-Bach and like, oh,
Right. No one's listening to the musical the classical music channel.
Yeah, last thing I want to do at 2:30 when I'm driving home from work, like, oh, I just want to stay awake. I want to stay awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, that's good. All right, we're in the top two, which
Was honestly not a surprise that these two would be the top two for all of us.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could guess what number 1 is, but yeah.
oh really? Okay. Oh, Jackie, with what is number 1 for you?
It'd have to be Snow White.
Snow White's number 1. How about you, Peter?
Absolutely Snow White.
I'm Pinocchio.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't blame you for Pinocchio.
Pinocchio
Like,
is-
that one.
Beautifully done.
Oh,
totally.
I think
absolutely.
it's the next level.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But for Snow White, I think it's a more fun movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If I want fun, I'll watch that. But if I want to be like blown away with like what the difference between Snow White, what they did Snow White, and what they did with
Right.
Pinocchio,
It was the evolution.
it's like, okay, we did something new. Now see this, and it just like it blows me away with what they
Absolutely.
did, and so that's why I think it's a better movie in that way. So that's why I'm different. So I'm curious,
Oh.
what makes Snow White, Jackie, better than Pinocchio for you?
I definitely think the characters itself really. The 7 dwarfs, you love them, you relate to all of them.
I don't. I just stroke my long beard.
Your long beard with no hair.
Yeah.
What were you for Halloween?
I was grumpy 2 years ago. Still am.
Yeah. So you've got some really good characters. You've got a great villain.
She's a good villain.
Absolutely.
And then of course
Which
you've-
also brings up the big plot hole. If she can turn herself into an ugly hag, can she just make herself to the most beautiful woman?
I am the fairest. I am.
Just saying.
That's not how magic works.
Oh, it only goes up. Magic only makes you ugly.
You only go down. You don't go up. The mirror's like, nah, sorry. Magic can't fix that. Sorry.
You've got some really great characters. You got the 7 dwarfs, the evil witch. You've got the classic first
You got
princess.
the huntsman. Go! Go! I had a friend that worked as a character performer, and they said like they had to do their break behind the Snow White ride, and it was right at the scene where they're like, go! Go! So for 15 minutes, that's what you heard over and over and
Oh,
over.
that's great.
And then of course you've got the first princess, Snow White.
Gotta represent, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of sad that she never went on to do the voice actress, never went on to
Right.
do anything.
I know. Her story's really sad.
Yeah.
And Prince Charming, oh my gosh, like we watched it, my wife was like, what a voice. My goodness.
Yeah.
He only got like a couple lines there.
Yeah. And a smooch. No, I'm just.
That's true.
All
So,
right.
I mean, I would say, to add on to what
Yeah.
you're saying, because your points are very plot
Right.
point, things like that. So, you brought up the point of like being blown away from the difference between Snow White and Pinocchio. I'm blown away from the difference between what they were doing for their silly symphonies
Yeah.
at the time to transition into
Mhm.
Snow
it really
White.
is
like
a draft.
their backgrounds are pieces of art back then.
Gorgeous.
Like you just like you look at it now, and you're like, yeah, it looks good, whatever. But like you look at what was coming out before Snow White, nothing came close to Snow White. Snow White changed animation forever.
It is a game changer.
It changed animation. It changed the art industry
Absolutely.
because it gave a new career path for that.
It inspired a new generation of people.
And you got to think what animation was. It's like there were such limitation with movie making.
Absolutely.
It had to be done by hand. Because they did the claymation, you're like, that's okay. Like, you see the original, like, King Kong, and you're like, oh, that's so scary. You know, like, animation allowed, that was the CGI, where you
Right.
could go next level. You could do anything. And they showed that they could with that movie.
Right.
So you definitely appreciate, like, oh, it's not just little, like, cartoon clips. This can do a movie
Oh,
level
totally.
animation.
Well, and like, it's one of those things like if you were to go back in time and swap Pinocchio with Snow White in terms of when they were made, like Pinocchio would have been good, but I think Snow White would have blown Pinocchio out of the water in terms of like elevating that story to that level of the level that they raised for Pinocchio. If they've raised that for Snow White, I
So you
think
switch quality.
if you switched
Yeah.
quality,
Oh yeah.
like Snow White destroys Pinocchio.
I
If
agree.
you compare
Yeah.
both of those movies, like it's just Snow White suffered because
You're inventing the
you're
wheel.
inventing the wheel. You're doing animation that nobody's ever done. You're on budget crunches.
You're begging America, please,
Yeah.
Right.
please give me money. Like,
correct.
and then
so
once they got that money, they're like, watch what we could do now.
correct.
Right.
And then we got to
Style.
see, because of the success of Snow White, Disney got to flex and be like, this is what we could really do with real money. Like, and that's why I would put Pinocchio at number 2, is because it's only good
it's writing.
because of Snow White.
And I won't deny that
Yeah.
in that aspect of what Pinocchio couldn't be what it is without Snow White.
Correct.
But for me, it's like I'm still like I think Pinocchio for me like blows my mind away with like that next level.
And Pinocchio's great. I
Yeah.
love it. It's one of those things, I always reference it, like at church and things like that.
It's got great moral
the great
stories.
morals.
Oh, yeah.
There's great lessons to learn throughout the entire thing. Like, it's...
I mean, you got Jiminy Cricket in there, and I was thinking about with Jiminy Cricket, I was like, he's almost like the heart of Walt.
It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, that's one way to look at it. I mean, he's literally the spokesman for Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Disneyland has Tinkerbell. Disney World has Jiminy Cricket.
I know the training pens they have at Disney World. They have Jiminy Cricket,
Jiminy.
Right.
and like you'd always have to try to grab them. Like, I'll trade you, and I'm like, hands off. This is mine.
I spent 5 years for this.
You're right. So okay, all right. We're gonna move into the next phase of animation, which is the wartime. And so Dumbo and Bambi and Fantasia, well, the war for the U.S.
Right.
Dumbo and Bambi were released at that time, but as we know, it takes 3 years or more
To make them.
to make a film. So once
These are
Snow
all-
White came out, they're like, all right, boom, 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 we're going to keep rolling with
These
it.
are all hand-drawn animations, so it's not like, oh, we're pumping out movies every single year or twice a year like we
got
see now.
4 or
It's
5
no.
teams running at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so we're going to start off with, like, what is it? What was the name of the documentary with Walt?
Walt and El Grupo.
El Grupo.
Oh, such a good documentary.
It is.
I would recommend that to anyone that loves South American culture and things like that, because it's a great story in terms of like why Walt and his animators went down there, and
It's like, what did Walt do during that period? And that
Yeah.
was a good positive spin because there was
lot of
there was a good strike going on. We
Yeah.
discussed that in a time period episode, and so this was a good way. This was also good for Walt because
Yes.
he needed to get out of the office. It was getting to him. So we got 2. I'm going to do just 2 movies. Saludos Amigos and The Three Caballeros. Which one do you guys think is better?
oh, the Three
Three
Caballeros.
I agree.
That's
Donald really just gets you going to like
Yeah.
have fun with it. It's good to see something familiar, and there's good characters with it.
right.
Um,
Like, at least here, like with Three Caballeros, we kind of get somewhat of a story.
yeah,
Whereas the other ones, you don't really.
There's
You've got a bunch of shorts
It's more just like
associated
an
with it.
Yeah, you're getting-
educational, yeah.
yes, it's got an infusion. And that's the part where it's like, is this animation? So like, where's Song of the South? Is not is small Mary Poppins not considered animated feature? Because
Right.
that's when they start blending, and you're like, oh, okay. All right, so do we have anything you guys want to share about those?
Saludos, amigo.
Saludos, amigos.
I was so bored during that
I was
one.
getting sleepy as well.
I was like, that one's bottom for me.
And that one's meant for, I would say, the people who like South America,
Yeah.
you know, like that sort of culture, because that's what that movie's about. It's about exploring
Cultural awareness,
a
Yeah.
cultural
and
awareness
appreciation.
of South America and Central America.
Don't join the bad guys.
Right. Don't join the Nazis.
Please, Argentina.
Right. But like it's really good, like in terms of like a document. It's almost a kind of a documentary.
It's like the first like
Yeah.
Disney documentary.
It would be
really.
something that I would expect them to show in a school.
Yeah. I want to make
I
it
would
fun
say that's fair.
for period piece. Okay, so any other thoughts with those?
No.
All right, let's get into like the wartime. Like while the war's going on, you have these small little clips, and like kind of the post-war where all the animators come back from war and they're like, "All right, let's see what you got." And so there's
Right.
there's got to be a transitional piece, and plus money's a little tight as well. And so these clips were like they gained money, you know, enough to get Walt
Get it
going
going.
again, you know, because it's hard to shift gears and go back and kind of create a new identity, you know, because these films stop in 1949. That's a 7-year difference between
Right.
Bambi and finishing off with Mr. Toad, and then 1950 is Cinderella,
Right.
which we'll discuss at another time. That's different era.
Right.
So we're going to talk about that kind of transitional period. And so we have, and I'll read them in order of when they came out. Make Mine Music, and then you have Fun and Fancy Free, and Melody Time. And people are like, these are animated features? And I'm like, yes. And then you have The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And so, do we want to, let's just rank them. I'll say the name and we'll give like what we thought, like their little clips,
Right.
like aggregated together. Would you watch it again, or which ones were good in there? We'll kind of go in there. All right. So with Make My Music, what did you rank it as from a 1 to 4 scale?
Ooh, this was what was hard because like there's like segments that were really good and other segments I'm like, yeah, you can forget that. And so like it's very like there's certain parts that were very nostalgic for me and others that weren't. And so I'm probably gonna put Make Mine Music as a 3.
Number 3.
Yes.
I said 2. What do you have, Jackie?
I have 4.
4. Bottom.
I just didn't care for it. No. Sorry, 3.
Okay.
Right? Well, are we including the Americas?
The American.
South Americas?
No, those like kind of
Oh,
like
okay.
categories. We're gonna
Okay.
do the wartime
without
the South American
Yeah, 4.
project.
Yeah.
4. Okay. So I'll read off some of the clips that were, or some of the shorts inside the Make My Music. You have Blue Bayou, which is the inspiration for the Pirates of the Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
Blue Bayou restaurant.
Yep.
And then you have All the Cats Join In. You got with some youth swing and dance and fun jazz.
Right.
My daughter stopped what she was doing. She put down the YouTube and like, what's that? So I was like, all right, star that one right there. Without You, it's kind of like a somber yearning for someone kind
Right.
of song. Then you have Casey at the Bat.
Oh, love Casey at the Bat.
And don't they do like a sequel for it
There
too?
is a sequel for it.
Yeah.
It's funny enough that just yesterday, my father-in-law, we were having a topic about, so my wife's name is Casey, and my son asked him, so why did you name my mom Casey? And it found out that my dad, her dad didn't want to name her Casey because of Casey at the Bat.
Yeah, it's
Because
a
of the
gender neutral.
poem.
It's a neutral name. And,
Well,
but
it just
they're
not
going-
just that, just like the message behind Casey at
Yeah.
the Bat, just like he didn't want her to be a representation of
but it's
Casey
spelled
because
differently.
like he didn't, you know, it's just one of those things because like the story of the poem that the whole short is based off of
Yeah.
is not meant to be looking at Casey in light.
Mm-hmm.
Although Disney kind of makes it turn into light.
Yeah.
In a lighthearted way, which again, I love the short, I love the song, the poem that goes with it. Like it's very fun, gets your attention. It's great. Even the sequel for it.
It's classic. I mean, it's at Disney World. There's a restaurant,
Yeah.
and you get your
Casey's
hot dog.
Corners. Best corn dogs.
Never had the corn dog.
Not
Oh,
at
my
Disney
God.
The mini
World.
corn dogs.
Oh yes.
Not
Corn
at Disney
dogs are
World.
good.
I didn't go to the restaurant at Disney World.
Because you'd be able to sit in the stands, and they'd have like baseball, like cartoons playing.
Yeah, that's gone now.
Oh, again, I'm pulling from 10 years ago.
Yeah, they just have like standing tables there and such.
They
So
said like a bleacher that you would sit.
Yeah.
All right, so there's also 2 silhouettes. I didn't even write any notes, so couldn't tell you. Then you have the ballad ballet, kind of a playful ballet silhouette of like real dancers. It was kind of fun. It was kind of that like Elephants on Parade kind of. They switched with colors and
Right.
kind of like, oh, you're having fun with like technique and,
Right.
and cinematic.
I
kind
felt
of
like
effect.
you could tell like this was kind of like a training movie almost. That it's like, okay, these are different styles of
Yeah.
animation and like how are you gonna do this?
some
and
of the
storytelling.
shorts, I felt like it was like, oh, they're trying to be like Fantasia almost.
Well, some of these were cut. Like the Blue Bayou one was one that was cut. It was
Right.
supposed to be played with the Claire de Lune song piece in there. So
Right.
you're right in saying like there's like you definitely tell like, oh, this is Fantasia. This
Yep.
this got cut. Didn't make it.
Right.
What do we do? Oh, I filmed this on the floor. Put it in the film. All right. So another memorable one. My wife loves this and she remembers watching it. Peter and the Wolf.
Oh, so good.
You know, like just the
Oh, yeah.
each character
Well, it's-
has its own sound.
it's-
and
There's like an old style of storytelling with it, and it's so good.
yeah,
Like it's just really good.
and
The
it's
way
like-
they orchestrate, they point out like, you know, it's extremely obvious that each character has their own little theme, and they play it, and it's really fun. Like
it is. It's probably one of the best pieces that comes out of like this period,
absolutely.
and like
And
it
totally-
gets played
it
again
gets-
and again in
And
theaters.
it gets totally forgotten. Like I can guarantee most people don't even know this short exists.
Oh, probably.
You just type it in and it'll play. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because we were exposed to these clips and music.
And like part of like you said, we were exposed to it, you know, growing up.
Right.
But in like when I was watching some of these clips, I was like, oh, I totally recognize this song. It was just like I've listened to the song on road trips and such.
So
And
yeah, this one.
It's just one of those things. I just don't ever hear Disney fans ever talk about
yes.
Peter and the Wolf. Like, and it's rare when I do. And when I do, they talk about how great it is. But, like, I don't... It's not one of those that gets talked about, and I feel like it should.
It's up there. It really is. All right, now we have After You've Gone. It's jazz piano.
Oh, I love that one.
It's a fun one.
It's a fun one. Like, I love the war between the classical and the jazz army. Like, you know, I love what the flutes come down as like cannons. Like it's like the coolest thing ever. I remember watching that as a kid, being like, like it's just like it's fun.
In Battle of a Period, you have like the animators who are fully into jazz. Like Walt
Oh,
was into
yeah.
jazz.
Mhm.
I mean, that period is like jazz everything. You know, and that breaks away the counterculture of classical music where it's structured, and jazz is just like it just comes out, it flows. There's no like this is what jazz is. It's just like it happens.
Right.
You know, you get taken away with something, and so yeah, it's a very good piece of going. This is a new age.
It's a new way of sharing a Romeo and Juliet story.
yeah.
You know, two people on opposite sides fall in love,
Yeah.
and the two sides battle it out with each other.
Well said. And then speaking of love story, we have Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet. You're saying
Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet.
Snore.
I thought it was fun.
It's cute. It's a little cute story. Like, is it amazing? No, but it's cute.
It's a
you
cute
know?
one. Yeah. And then it finishes off with the whale who wanted to sing at the Met. I mean, that was kind of fun.
I love that whale. Like,
It's good.
even though his songs are like short, I will sit and repeat that same Baby, little baby loves shortening, shortening. Baby, little baby loves shortening bread. Like, I will just sit and, like, if I'm out on my walk, I will sing that as loud as I can. I love that song. Like, it's such a fun, creative short to have
It
an
is.
opera singing whale.
And then the people are thinking, like, he's swallowed an opera singer. We
Right.
must get him out. And they
Right.
show his little, like, he can do
Tonsils.
the
He's
tonsils.
got like three different tonsils, so he has the different ranges.
Yeah,
and
what was
whatnot.
it, the baritone?
Yeah, like tenor, baritone,
And then bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun when he's singing to see him vibrate, and then like one of the birds hits it and it starts going off. So that it's fun. So just a heads up, Make My Music is not on Disney Plus.
No.
So you cannot see it, but Jackie said,
It is on YouTube. You
Yeah.
can watch the different clips on YouTube.
and so you can get those experiences. Take the ones like I said, All Cats Join In, Casey at the Bat, Peter and the Wolf, After You're Gone. You know, the whole way. You look up those.
I would say
and-
if you're gonna pick, in my opinion, you got to pick one short. What's the one short?
I'll say All the Cats Join In. It's just fun. I really was. It picked me up after watching some of the slower ones than the other one.
Probably Peter and the Wolf.
Peter and the Wolf. Absolutely.
Yeah, I knew you guys were gonna say Peter and the Wolf. I was like, well, I'll throw out something else. But
Sure.
Peter and the Wolf it's top tier. I'd say out of all the clips, it's probably the top one.
Absolutely.
In the fusion of like the Fantasia influence of it. All right, so let's move on to Fun and Fancy Free, where you got Little Bear Bongo and Jack and the Beanstalk. You guys remember watching Jack and the Beanstalk?
Oh, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
VHS tape we had.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys rank that one as?
Number one.
Number one.
Number one.
Whoa, man, that just hit me in the face.
Yeah, number one.
Wait, which one?
Fun and Fancy Free.
It's got a Little Bear Bongo and the Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah, I've got that number 2.
Is it Jack and the Beanstalk? Or is it Little Bear Bongo where, like, you
Oh.
slap the person you love?
I
You're
love-
I
like,
love Little Bear
I
Bongo.
I love Little
care
Bear
for it.
Bongo. Like,
Oh, that
"Here,
was
look to see with the slap, boop, boop." Like, it's fun. Like,
was probably
it's
my
cute. Is
top,
it
yeah.
the highlight? No, the highlight is Mickey and the Beanstalk.
it's
Yeah.
the
That's
heavy
why
one.
you watch it. You watch it for Mickey and the Beanstalk. You don't watch it for Bongo.
Yeah.
But like Mickey and the Beanstalk was done so well.
It is.
Like the music's beautiful, the animation's beautiful.
It's a good story.
You got a full
Yeah.
story. It's not like a 5-minute short. It's like, is it like 20 minutes
I
or
think
something
so.
like that? It's like the
Yeah.
20-minute short where you got Mickey, Donald, and you got the trio.
Yep.
Right. You got
And-
the classic.
And you get like Donald going nuts, or,
Yeah,
or
that's
there's
right.
like the
There's
poverty where they're
Oh,
slicing
the
the bread. It's
slice.
I
so
love
thin.
it. Seeing the bean, they slice the bean and they can see through the bread. And bean.
Oh
It's
yeah, they made the
great.
sandwich out of it.
It's great. I love that. You know,
Oh, my mom just like loved calling me Fifi.
Fifi. Yep.
From Fee Fi Fo Fo.
Yeah.
Fifi. I don't know no Fifi. And mom
Yeah.
just loved calling me
Yeah,
that.
you get another new iconic character in there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you'll see the giant. He pops in.
Willie the
here and
Giant.
there. That's his name. I didn't know that.
Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts on those?
Great.
They're good.
They're good. All right. Let's move on to Melody Time. I have this as number 4 out of those 4.
That's my
Um,
4.
That's your 4.
Yeah.
It's
3 for you.
Yeah.
And then you have Once Upon a Winter Time, where the boyfriend, like, the girlfriend thinks the boyfriend, like, saved the day, but it was the animals that
Yeah.
saved her.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like, the horses had it. He was like, you dumped me. That's
Right.
right.
Right. It's just, it wasn't that interesting of
No, it was pretty
a
boring.
short, that first one.
And then you have Johnny Appleseed.
Which
I
was
like
okay.
Johnny
it
Appleseed.
was okay.
It was okay. It was enjoyable.
I remember seeing it as a kid. And
It's a good moral like story.
it's
a good, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
You know?
And
it's
yeah,
not
when I
that-
saw Paul Sims, I was like, boy, that looks really good. I like your thinking, Johnny. I don't care if you're gonna die at the end of this one.
Right.
All right, so we have Little Toot with the little boats.
Yes.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those police were mean.
Yeah.
They were like, They had like, it kind of reminded me of like Thomas the Train, and like
Yeah.
those faces. That's what it kind of reminded
A little
me of.
bit.
And then you have Pop Trees, which is pretty boring. Can't
Yes.
remember anything from.
Yeah.
Nothing very memorable.
And then you have Bumble. Is it Boogie? Bumble Boogie.
Oh yeah, that one's kind of like a second grade Fantasia piece.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like
And it's just like it doesn't look as good as Fantasia.
It's not.
I
great.
thought it was. I
Like,
wrote the cutting floor of Fantasia, but it actually was a really popular one that got
Sure.
like added as a short for the beginning of a animated feature. So it was enjoyed by fans.
Right. And the music is good. I mean, Flight of the Bumblebee is definitely one of the more famous classical pieces that people enjoy nowadays.
And I think these, like, all of these shorts and stuff are just, like, the inspiration of having the shorts before the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically because like Disney at the time, they had their silly symphonies before, and this is just like a continuation of that.
Yeah. They're like, we're still doing this, but we really want to get back
Right.
into these animated features because it's groundbreaking. We can do some really good art and storytelling. Okay, then you had Clown of the Jungle, and you had
What was that one again?
the Arcuna bird, and you had like the organist playing.
Oh, the organ with Donald and
what's this one?
Pun-
one of
Pun-
the
is it? What's his name? Oh my goodness. That's gonna
one of
kill
the
me.
three amigos.
One of the three.
So 2 out of the 3 of the amigos
Yeah.
are in there. The one from Brazil.
Yes.
He's my favorite.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean that was a
That was
fun
fun.
one.
Again,
I
it's
mean
the-
that's kind of a callback back to the Saludos Amigos, Three
I thought so,
Caballeros
too.
level. Like that's the sort
Did
of
it not make the cut or something like that?
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
It was
livened
fun.
it up.
Yeah.
And then that was the Blame It on Samba. I think that was what it was. Blame It on the Samba was that one right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jose.
and then
Jose. Yeah.
Jose.
Carioca.
Yeah.
and then we finished off with Pecos Bill.
Pecos Bill. That was a great one.
Yippee-yi-yi-yo,
I mean,
yippee-yi-yi.
you gotta be
That
careful.
song's catchy.
It's so catchy. Like I still will randomly like when I'm out for my walk, and like I'll start singing the part where like water.
Oh yeah, is that from there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Water.
And there's
Yeah.
a restaurant in Frontierland at
Yep,
Disney
for
World.
Pecos Bill.
For Pecos
I
Bill.
mean,
They have
one
some
of those
the
things.
memorabilia,
you know,
and like for that.
A little side warning for that
That
segment.
one is a.
There are some stereotypes.
What, the painted Indians?
The painted
Yikes.
Indians, like,
Yeah.
just there is a warning before when you watch this movie that there are.
I love it. It's
some
like in the
timely
smallest
things.
font. You really don't know where you're like,
yeah.
all right, whatever. Like nothing blinking. Like, hey, be prepared to like. You're gonna be like, because you watch it and you're just like, ugh.
It's like that can't be done today.
Yeah.
Looney
There's-
Tunes
There's
level.
some, not so great moments.
But they still have it
yeah.
on Disney Plus, so you can
Yes.
enjoy it. Just be aware that
That's
it's just,
there.
It's just like, oh, okay, a product of its time,
Yes.
and we'll leave it at that. All right, let's finish off with the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. What do you guys have it as?
That was 2.
Number 1 for me.
Number 1, I have it above Bambi, by the way.
I can see it's more fun. You got more.
I enjoyed it a lot more. I can enjoy
I probably would pick Ichabod over Bambi if I put it in there. If I had
Yeah.
to choose between the two.
I just thought I was watching it and I was like, this would be a really fun like remake into like a live action, not like making a live Toad like action, but like a human character called Mr. Toad and like his story. And I thought that
I
would
don't know.
be
I
a
see
good
some
movie.
really bad CGI, and I'm like, no.
No, it would be like
It
actual
wouldn't be. It
humans.
wouldn't be a toad. It would be a person.
It would be a person.
Okay.
But-
kind of pull from the Wind and the Willow kind of story.
Yes.
Okay. I can
Yeah,
see
no,
that.
I mean, there's fun. It's super enjoyable. I mean, we still see the headless horseman still trots out at the beginning of all the Halloween parades.
Yeah.
Like it's a very iconic character.
And it's kind of fun to see. an American folklore story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, where it comes to that early settlers and pilgrim. No, it was like post-pilgrim, but it, you know, based in that that
time
area,
period, yeah.
pre-revolution kind of folklore, and that's where like Ichabod's restaurant. It's got the best snack. It's got the best breakfast, like waffle,
Yeah.
fruit waffle.
Yeah, Disney parks make a lot of references to these two, like, shorts or movies.
The history behind the Mr. Toad portion is very interesting. Walt Disney hated the idea of doing a Mr. Toad thing. Mr. Toad was supposed to come out years before when it did. It was kind of one of those things where, like, we got to put something together here. This is here, so let's just combine these two and release it. That's, like, Walt had no, like, excitement for that portion of the movie. Like, he didn't care for the characters, the story at all.
I am in the same boat. I like the Mr. Toad ride. And
The ride's great.
So if you
it's a
watch
fun,
this,
great idea.
you're gonna be like, "Whoa, that what happened?" I thought, like, you're like, "No, the movie's wrong. The ride is right," but it's not.
It's
Yeah.
not. The
And-
ride is way wrong.
It's like
Yeah.
nothing to do with it.
Like they have the lawyer as the judge in the ride.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
You know,
So it's yeah. And you're
You
like,
got
"Where's the
Winky.
train?"
Winky, yeah, he's in there.
So I mean, I like Mr. Toad. I like have the Mr. Toad ornament, and I just liked anything. I used to collect Mr. Toad pins, but I just don't care for the story. I just
Right.
actually don't care for Mr. Toad's character.
It's
I think I
not
just like
that,
how he
it's
looks in
it's
the
just
ride.
not that interesting of a story per se, and that's honestly why I didn't put it past Fun and Fancy Free, because I just felt Making the Beanstalk was that good that either one, Ichabod or Mr. Toad, couldn't hit that mark. And so that's why I didn't put it in number
It's
one.
when it comes down the Mickey and his friends always get your attention. You're like, oh, what adventure are we going on today with them?
Right.
So I totally see that. All right. Do we have anything else you guys want to bring up?
No.
No. So like, look in the future. We'll probably go over the silver anniversary.
It's the Silver Age will be the next one.
Silver
From
Age.
1950 to 1967.
So,
So 50s to Walt's death, basically.
Yes. And so, yeah, the remainder of Walt's experience, which it'll be different because Walt gets distracted.
Yes, this is the era where Walt's thinking about Disneyland.
And you could tell, like, the story's different. It doesn't have that Walt touch. Kind of like how we're seeing with, like, John Lasseter's no longer there.
At Pixar.
At Pixar.
And you see a
And you're
change at Pixar.
seeing a change
A
in
different
direction
change.
of the leadership. And people could say quality or story. So we'll be able to discuss that in the next kind of not the next podcast, but the future one where we're ranking and
Yes.
discussing these films, to where it's kind of be cool to say, like, I've seen them all. Like,
Right.
That would
Yeah.
be kind of cool. So
It is a fun feeling being like, oh yeah, I've seen them all.
you're like,
You know.
And someone's like, no, you haven't seen them all. You're like, oh, I have.
Oh, yeah. So I want to thank you for listening to us discuss these films. Like I said, pick out some of the small clips, go on YouTube or go on Disney Plus for some of those World War II eras that you just like, I never knew that was a movie, or
Right.
there were clips. There's some really fun ones, and there's some real snoozers.
There's
in
actually
there.
one that isn't on my list
Which one?
that I think fits with the wartime era movies that's still classified as a
What do you
Disney
got?
animated movie, and that's The Reluctant Dragon.
I heard about this
Oh
one.
yes, I've seen it. It's good.
Great. I love.
I
The
felt like
Reluctant
it was
Dragon.
more of like a
It
documentary.
is. It's kind of a mini documentary with a short at the end, but it is still technically classified as a Disney animated feature.
Interesting.
So it's not on the list, but it should be.
That one I
but-
do recommend people to watch.
Absolutely, especially if you're a fan of history and things like that, of like how the Disney
How
company
they make
used to
their-
make movies.
Yeah, how
Like,
they make their movies.
It was literally like the first behind the scenes movie ever made.
Oh, fun.
So I would recommend that for anyone that likes to enjoy that sort of era of history and that era of time.
So we challenge you as our listeners to, branch out, break away from Frozen and your Moanas and
Right.
and your Aladdins or Hercules, and just like take a moment and take in some of these clips.
And the wartime ones, they're like an hour long. Like,
Yeah, you gotta keep in mind, like,
limit.
when we mean that these are movies, they're like not really movies.
they're an hour movie, which is not
Yeah.
too much
It'll be
time
quick, and
commitment.
you'll know what parts where you're like, nope, keep moving on. So please follow us on our social medias and stay up to date with what we're doing. Reach out to us. We are always monitoring them, and we are taking suggestions. It helps us with our planning, but we've got plenty of ideas. And
Yep.
we're always open for new ideas,
Yes.
for sure, because some of our ideas are like, nah, let's do that one later.
Right. Let's push that one off for another 3 months.
And then we forget about it.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, with that being said, Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.